What if the Colts drafted RG3 instead of Andrew Luck? So here we go, another theory involving two quarterbacks taking the first two picks of a draft, and how much different would it be if they were swapped. And this theory I originally made all the way up to 2016, but of course things changed since then, and I decided, screw it, I'm going to go all the way up to 2018 when Andrew Luck retired and RG3 is now a backup with the Ravens, to see how much different would the league be if they were swapped places. So, let's get into it. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if? An NFL theory. After not having Peyton Manning play for them in 2011 due to injury, the Colts bottomed out. They finished 2-14. They had the #1 overall pick, so they decided to let Peyton go and start fresh by getting a new quarterback in the draft. But the draft was loaded with 4 quarterbacks that were taken in the first round, but there are 2 players in particular that stand out: Andrew Luck and RG3. The Colts, of course, with the #1 overall pick, they decided to take Andrew Luck. But the Redskins, who badly wanted a quarterback, actually drafted up a bunch of slots from and took the Rams' #2 overall pick to get RG3. When Andrew Luck played with the Colts, he dramatically turned the fortunes of the team around. They continued the era that Peyton Manning started. But then in 2015, he started suffering severe injuries that kept him out for half of 2015, and then of course it egged him on and kept him from playing all of 2017. He managed to come back in 2018, have an incredible year, but right before 2019, he retired because of the injuries. Meanwhile, for RG3, after having an incredible rookie year, he just never played the same with injuries and all that. And then in 2015, he was benched the entire season as Kirk Cousins replaced him. After that, he was let go by the Redskins. He joined the Browns in 2016, flamed out. He stayed out of the league in 2017 before joining the Ravens as the backup quarterback since 2018, and that's where he is today. But what if the teams swapped places? What if instead the Colts drafted RG3? Let's find out. So of course, the change in this timeline will be the Colts do not pick Andrew Luck, they take RG3, and of course the Redskins, who still would make the trade up, would now take Andrew Luck. So now let's get into the 2012 season. Now, for the Colts, RG3 was just better than Andrew Luck that year. He threw 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I have no idea how many rushing touchdowns he had. I knew he had at least 1 or probably a couple more, so he statistically was just dominant. And the Colts in this timeline with RG3 actually would improve to 12-4, a 10-game improvement from 2011. While for the Redskins, Andrew Luck was just not as good as RG3. He had all the comebacks, but he was still 23 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. His stats just weren't that good, and it would definitely show up, as the Redskins would only improve to 8-8 and not go 10-6 as they did in our timeline. But in the updated standings, nothing would change as we go into 2013. And then going into 2013 is when the team fortunes starting to change, as RG3 would be struggling with his injuries and he just wasn't the same as his rookie form, and the Colts regress as they finish 9-7. Meanwhile, for the Redskins, Andrew Luck improved and he did play better than RG3, and the games that mattered, it mattered dramatically as he improved the team to 9-7. And in the updated 2003 standings, the only thing that changes is the Redskins taking the 3rd seed over the Eagles. So the Redskins now make the playoffs. Now for the Colts, remember when they played the Chiefs in the wildcard round? They were down 38-10 at one point, but then Andrew Luck led that incredible comeback and the Colts won it 45-44. Well, sorry. That's not going to happen this time with RG3, as when the Colts go down that much, they stay down, as the Chiefs actually beat the Colts this time around. But later that night, the Saints would be visiting the Redskins, and in our timeline, the Saints beat the Eagles on a last-second field goal. But guess what? With Andrew Luck, who would make that incredible comeback, he would do that as well, as the Redskins stunned the Saints, and they actually beat them. But the fortunes would not be the same the next week when they visit the Panthers, as they would get destroyed. So in the end, the Seahawks still beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. Then into 2014, and RG3 with the Colts is just not working out. He's still injured, missing several games, and he's just not the same player as he once was. And of course, by this point, Andrew Luck destroyed RG3 in terms of stats, and it would show as the Colts would now regress once again to finish 8-8. But with the Redskins now having a really good quarterback, Andrew Luck really takes the Redskins to a whole new level, stunning everyone as they go 12-4 and looking really scary going into the playoffs in a very loaded NFC conference. And in the updated 2014 stands, the Colts missed the playoffs as the Texans take the 4th seed away from them. And in the NFC, the Cowboys now have the 2nd seed, the Packers have the number 1 seed, the Seahawks fall to the 3rd seed, and the Redskins get in as the 5th seed, and the Cardinals fall to the 6th seed. Ooh, feel bad for the Lions, 11-5 and still don't make the playoffs. For the Andrew Luck-led Redskins, they would actually beat the struggling Panthers this time around, where they would then visit the Packers. But unfortunately, the Redskins were not good enough to take on the Packers as the Packers win. And of course, with the Seahawks being stopped, Super Bowl 49 is now the Patriots playing the Packers. And how would this game go out? Well, looking at how the Packers played, although they did beat the Patriots that year, I don't think they would probably win it this time around, especially how the Patriots played the Super Bowl. I think the Patriots would get this one. Now we're in 2015, and this one is really unknown for the Colts, as RG3, remember, did not play at all in 2015, at all. So I don't know what his stats would be, but seeing how he played the last 2 years, and of course how he played when he went on with the Browns, it probably would not be good, especially compared to Andrew Luck, how bad he was that year. And the Colts would actually regress once again to 5-11. Meanwhile, for the Redskins, just like with the Colts, Andrew Luck would struggle so bad out the gate, and the Redskins would look really bad and out of shape. And then, of course, halfway through the year, he would suffer his injury. But here's one thing that the Redskins still do in this timeline. They take Kirk Cousins in the 4th round still. So when Andrew Luck went down with his injury, Cousins took over, and the rest of the Redskins season would play just how it did in our timeline. But it would actually change because the Redskins would improve to 10-6 instead of 9-7 as they did in our timeline. So even with a battered, bruised Andrew Luck, their record would be better. But of course, nothing would change in the 2015 stands, nor would it change the Super Bowl. We then go into the 2015 offseason. Of course, after the terrible year that RG3 most likely have, the Colts would release him. And funny enough, he would still end up with the Browns this timeline. So RG3's timeline in this theory is done being talked about. But what are the Colts going to do now with a quarterback? They have too high of a pick, so they can't get Jared Goff or Carson Wentz. Well, this would actually be interesting, as they would instead go for a free agent. And who would that free agent be? Kirk Cousins. Yep. Although Kirk Cousins probably would not have the same stats as he did in our timeline, since RG3 wasn't injured all the time like Andrew Luck wouldn't be. So his stats might not be good, but hey, that incredible turnaround he had in 2015 might be enough for him to get the starting job with the Colts now. So now into 2016, with Andrew Luck back and healthy and having one of his better seasons, the Redskins once again move back up to 12-4 and really look good going into the playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Colts, unfortunately, Kirk Cousins played good, but he wasn't as good as Andrew Luck, so the Colts would only improve to 7-9. And in the updated 2016 standings, the Titans now win the AFC South, but thanks to tiebreakers, the Redskins now win the NFC East and also have home field advantage all wrapped up. The Packers move up to the 3rd seed, the Seahawks fall to the 4th seed, Cowboys fall to the 5th seed, and the Giants fall to the 6th seed. So we would focus on the Redskins as their playoffs run would begin hosting the Cowboys. Now remember, the Cowboys and Redskins, both their games that year were really close, within the chance of Redskins win both of them. And I think with the better quarterback, and especially seeing how the Cowboys played against the Packers that year, I think the Redskins can get it. And they'll be in the NFC Championship for the first time since 1991, where they would now host the Falcons. That one would be probably offensive shootout, and it would be crazy. But looking at their stats, the Falcons were just so good in that game offensively when they destroyed the Packers in that conference championship. Matt Ryan was just on a roll. And even if they're on the road, I'm pretty sure the Packers overall were better than the Redskins. So I think the Falcons still would beat the Redskins this timeline. Of course, with that, nothing changes for the Super Bowl. Now going into 2017, the Redskins unfortunately would lose Andrew Luck for the year with his injuries. So they completely collapse and fall apart as they finish 3-13. Now for the Colts with Kirk Cousins, he would play better than Jacoby Brissett and all the other quarterbacks that played in Andrew Luck's absence that year, but the Colts would still regress as they finished 6-10. As good as he was, he just wasn't quite good enough yet to really turn the team around. But other than the Bills and Chargers making the playoffs, it would not change anything for the Super Bowl that year. Now, the first big difference for the 2017 offseason is Alex Smith. Since the Colts have Andrew Luck and they're pretty sure he could come back, they don't really have any purpose to trade for Alex Smith to be the starter when Andrew Luck could be. So, instead of going to the Redskins, he is traded to the Vikings, who just lost Keith Keenum in the offseason, especially since they can now no longer get Kirk Cousins since he's with the Colts. So Alex Smith is now a Viking. With Andrew Luck back and healthy, the Redskins once again get back into position for a playoff push as they go 11-5 and look really scary once again going into the playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Colts with Kirk Cousins, Cousins would play really good, but unfortunately in the games that really mattered, he would not show up where Andrew Luck would show up, and the Colts actually only improved to 7-9 instead of going 10-6 in our timeline. And of course, the Vikings would not do as well with Alex Smith, as he would suffer his injury near the halfway part of the season, and they would just fall apart as they finished 7-9. And in the updated 2018 standings, the Steelers get in as the 6th seed now, and in the NFC, the Redskins get in as the 4th seed as the Cowboys fall to the 6th seed. And of course, once again, we have to focus on the Redskins in the playoffs as they start off hosting the Seahawks. And of course, the way Andrew Luck played in that wild card that week was not that much different than how Dak Prescott did against the Seahawks. So I think the Redskins would beat the Seahawks still in this timeline. Then in the divisional round, they visit the Saints. Now the Saints destroyed the Redskins in the regular season, but hey, they destroyed the Eagles even worse that year, and they almost lost to them in the divisional round. And of course, the Redskins would go up really quickly and make a really close nail-biter against the Saints. But one thing in particular with that game, Andrew Luck that week did not throw any interceptions like against the Chiefs in our timeline. Whereas Nick Foles with the Eagles, he threw 2 of them against the Saints. And one of them did lead to a touchdown. And the Saints won that game by 6. But guess what? Andrew Luck does not throw an interception this game. Therefore, no points off of it. So now the Redskins go down to New Orleans and upset the Saints as they move on to the conference championship where they now visit the Bears. Of course, who knows how they would play since neither of them did. But I think with that #1 defense in the league, I think the Bears could still hold on to get it. So Super Bowl 53 is now the Bears and Patriots. And these two, remember, played each other in the regular season. The Bears almost pulled off the upset against the Patriots. But by this point, the Bears were a really good team. And remember, the Patriots, especially Brady, did not play that well in the Super Bowl. But the main reason they won was because the Rams' offense was so bad. But the Bears have the #1 defense in the league, and they're going to play just as well as the Rams did. I mean, yeah, Trubisky wasn't as good as Goff was that year, but maybe he could be more trusted to get the win, or maybe the defense would just play so better than the Rams that they might keep the Patriots down. But I think the Bears in the rematch could actually get this win. And that's where this video will wrap up. Going into 2019, Andrew Luck will still retire, which means the Redskins are going to be screwed as they have no quarterback, and of course they do not draft Dwayne Haskins since their draft stock is too high, and they didn't think Andrew Luck would retire, so yeah, in a very bad spot. And the Colts, maybe with Kirk Cousins, maybe they could play better enough to maybe make a playoff run, possibly. Who knows what would happen? But of course, most importantly in the end, the Redskins and the Colts' trajectory would completely change. In this 7-season stretch, the Colts in our timeline real life made the playoffs 4 times. This time around, the Colts would only make the playoffs 2 times. Whereas the Redskins would make the playoffs 5 times, go 5-5, have just 1 losing season. That's, of course, the year Andrew Luck missed the entire year, and then make it to the conference championship twice. That's even better than when Andrew Luck was with the Colts when they made it to the conference championship once in 2014. So during this 7-year stretch, I think overall, even though the Colts struggled, the Redskins did better. I think during this stretch they would be in a better situation. Of course, RG3 would flame out, but the Colts still would get Kirk Cousins, who is just a good QB as Andrew Luck in some regards. And of course, the Redskins would do very good with Andrew Luck. But it will all change in 2019 when Andrew Luck retires. The Redskins don't get Dwayne Haskins because he retired during the preseason, so why would they draft a quarterback in the first round when they have Andrew Luck? So they don't have him going into 2020. So unless the Redskins manage to get a really good quarterback in 2020, the Colts end out better in this timeline. Because at least going into 2019 and into 2020, they got Kirk Cousins, who is most certainly better stat-wise than Jacoby Brissett and, of course, Phillip Rivers probably. So they would be better going into 2019-20. But hey, who knows what will happen since we don't know at all in 2020 and onward. So maybe the Redskins could get a really good QB and would be right back in the same position of them both being good right now. But hey, it's just a theory, an NFL theory. Thanks for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this, and see you guys next time.